All right, guys, so what's going on? So I wanted to just talk about why I love pause deadlifts so much, and why they are something that I tend to program for most clients, especially just when it's something I actually prefer beginners to do, as opposed to just trying to do like a normal full-fledged deadlift most of the time. And the reason why is twofold. So one, I found that pause deadlifts just really enforce good positioning and more kinesthetic awareness. What that basically means is you're more aware of your body positions during space. And typically when you're a beginner especially, you don't have the neural efficiency, you don't have the neuromuscular patterns built up. So you're kind of confused about what you're actually doing, especially with a dynamic movement where you're constantly moving, such as with a normal deadlift from the floor. What a pause deadlift kind of allows you to do is understand, okay, this is how my body feels throughout the different positions of the movement. And typically where you pause is going to help you create a little bit more of that awareness of your body in space, and how you need to apply forces to optimize your leverages and movement pattern throughout that range of motion. So one, just kinesthetic awareness, and then technical practice. And what that basically means is because the pause takes off some of the loading that you have to use, you can get in more technical practice for less fatigue. And this is really, really beneficial because deadlifts, there have been some studies that have said that it's not as fatiguing as deadlifts are not any more fatiguing from a neuromuscular perspective than squats or bench, but anybody in practice kind of knows that's not exactly true. And one of my reasonings behind this is just because of sensory input and central command, especially with your hands and with your spinal cord. And the reason why I say that is because when you're holding in tons of tons of weight in your hands have a ton of nerve endings. If you guys want to see something really freaky, look up a homunculus on Google, and you'll be able to see the different nerve endings and innervations, sensory inputs. So your hands have a ton of nerve endings. So when you're holding 500 pounds in your hands, as opposed to 300 pounds on the bench press or a squat, you're not holding it in your hands. There's not as much input to the central good command, as well, because you're going to have lots of stress, typically more central stress placed on your spinal cord. You're going to have more fatigue per rep, just because your central nervous system is going to kind of, shut away some of that forces or take away that forces, because it wants to actually protect your spinal cord, to a certain extent. With a squat, you're not going to be moving as much weight typically, unless you're a super heavy weight, as you would on a deadlift. So typically deadlifts are just going to be more fatiguing per rep, especially a dynamic movement. Pause deadlifts, when then you take off the actual load that you have to lift, you can usually get in more technical practice, still get a good strength overloading stimulus for less fatigue, which is great. And then the third big reason I liked pause deadlifts is because I found that it really teaches people how to actually properly apply force on a deadlift. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of times people just think of deadlift as up and down, and that's only true off the floor. The force vectors, or the direction in which you have to apply force relative to the ground and the bar, change throughout the movement. And so basically what I mean by that, and I'll demonstrate this, I have my barbell here. When you're pushing off the floor, that's when you need to have push up and pull up with your lats to help create that barbell actually break off the floor. As soon as the barbell moves off the floor, you need to change the direction with which you apply force, forward with your hips and your legs, and back with your lats by keeping the barbell close to you. And the reason why you want to do this is because that's going to help keep the weight more centered around your center of mass and gravity. So you'll be able to move more efficiently and have more around your axis of rotation. And the axis of rotation on the deadlift is mainly going to be around your hips. So the closer your hips can be to the barbell, the better. And that's why you want to apply forces forward and back, especially like if you think about it, like a deadlift is a hip extension movement. So like your hips go back and forward on it. So anyways, that's my little rant about why I like them. I'll just kind of just show you like some things I think about when I'm doing them, and how it would differ in terms of technique from a conventional or a sumo deadlift in terms of where you would pause and how to approach the pause. Okay, so first I want to talk about how to do a sumo pause deadlift and what things to think about. So obviously, if you want to come right there, so you want to get in your normal sumo deadlift stance where you're most comfortable, and then from right here, when you're going to pause on a sumo deadlift, you're going to want to pause about like 1 or 2 inches off the floor, and that's just going to be because you typically want to pause when the force is at the hardest part of the movement, or at the part where you just need to like actually focus on, different body positions. But typically it would be like 1 to 2 inches off the floor. So that would look like is like this. So when I'm breaking off the floor, again, I'm going to think about pushing up, and then I'm going to wedge myself into the barbell as a way to, I guess, really reinforce the whole cue of I want to apply that horizontal force. Think about wedging your hips into the barbell. So one, two, 1, 2, 1, 2. So when you're doing it, what I like to do, because it's really easy to kind of like rush it, the pause, I think 1, and then on 2, I think of exploding forward and applying that horizontal force. And when you get to the pause, you want to think about wedging your hips, pushing them into the barbell. So just for that, again, I'll do this a little bit more slow. My legs are sore because I did dead legs yesterday, so please like the video. So when I'm doing this, I'm thinking of off the floor. I'm going to wedge hips into the barbell at the pause right here. 1, 2, and then think about just pulling back with my lats and pushing my hips into the barbell. So you can see how that looks, how it comes from, like Jake, if you go from the side.
Yeah, it was.
So I'm just telling you so people can see. Mm-hmm. So as you look from the side, you can kind of see how it changes from me just pushing up and when I go forward. So off the floor. So you can kind of see how the force patterns and the vectors change. Now, contrary to a sumo deadlift, where typically you're going to pause a little bit more lower off the floor, on a conventional deadlift, you're going to want to typically pause about right below the knee. So we're going to get into a conventional deadlift stance. Jake, if you come over here. So you get into the conventional deadlift stance about like this. When you go down, and again, you want to think about pushing off the floor. Same thing. Off the floor, you want to push and pull directly up. As soon as that barbell gets moving, you want to really think about pushing your hips forward and pulling the barbell back into your body using your lats. So off the floor, it's going to be up and down, and then when I get to my pause, I'm really thinking about the horizontal forces. So the reason why you want to pause again right below the knee is because that's going to be the hardest part of the movement pattern. And that's really when you want to focus on where you pause, should be where you want to focus on pushing your hips forward and really applying more horizontal force than vertical force, because they're going to have a greater shin angle and more distance to travel. You're going to want to pause up higher up on your shin than you would on a conventional deadlift, on a sumo deadlift. For a conventional deadlift. So again, just to run through, because I know I went over a lot of things. Here's how to do it on a sumo. Again, off the floor, vertical force,
Once you get to the pause, that's where you want to think about applying the horizontal force by pushing your hips into the barbell, and then getting your and then using your lats to pull the barbell into you. And yeah, so sumo. Dimensional. All right, and that's how I do pause deadlifts. Why they are awesome. I typically recommend doing this either after your primary deadlift volume, or do this on a secondary deadlift day. Start off with like 3 to 5 sets, and probably want to chain around RP 6 to 8 on these within the 1 to 5 rep range. So yeah, that's that. If you guys like the video, please like, comment, share, subscribe. I'm winded because I'm fat and a power lifter. But yeah, like, comment, share, subscribe. If you guys are interested in coaching programs, adampeterfitness.com, and then follow me on Instagram as I post lots of stuff there. So anyways, I'm going to catch my breath. Thank you for watching.